So, Skull and Bones is a $70 game because it's a quadruple A, says Ubisoft. Now, I don't much care for the label double A, triple A, quadruple A, single A, but I think it's a nice benchmark because okay, what's a triple A company? A multi-million dollar corporation like Ubisoft, like EA, like BioWare, and again these gaming companies they started off small, right? They started off at a time where gaming wasn't incredibly popular. So, I mean, at one point, EA, BioWare, Ubisoft, at one point, they were literally just indie. Like, they were a couple of people in guys in their mom's basement making a game, and they were the smelly nerds that lived in the fucking basement. And now that they're multi-billion-dollar corporations with stocks and thousands of employees, I mean, you get to the point where you're forced to shove out a product with little or no creative value to it, like Skull and Bones. So that's kind of the whole triple A idea, at least for me, right? The time it takes to make a game, the money you put in to make a game, the value of the game itself. I think all that comes together to make a triple A. Then you go into, well, again, I have never heard the word single A. I periodically hear the word double A, but again, it's one of those things that we all can't truly agree on the classification. But we know a triple A company when we see one, right? And we know an indie when we see one too. Like the makers of Pal World. Like what? It was made by 50 dudes with a budget of 10 grand. And they made millions. Or like the creator of The Coffin of Andy and Lele. Which most things were created by a single woman and made millions of dollars. And you all know where that came from, but a quadruple A, like what would that even mean? Because I know the game, they said they were in production of the game for 10 years. I don't believe that. This does not look like a 10-year project, right? Games were made in a fifth of that time and are better games. Like, I'm pretty sure Power World is just a better game, despite the problems, but despite the fact that it's early access, despite the fact that it's half the cost. But I haven't really been through this article, so let's get through it. My mouse is shitting out on me, so it'll be slower. Skull and Bones, a game that has been in production so long it's practically become a myth. It is now running an open beta this weekend, ahead of its release a week from now. Again, this article is way back when. The idea is to show that after all this time and all this drama, the game is actually good and you should play it at release, but you'll have to pay $70 to do so. Taking a drink. Despite very much being billed as a live ongoing game, Skull and Bones charging $70 up front, then we'll add the microtransactions and battle passes and such on top of that as time goes on. See, I think that's the way games are going nowadays. It's a $70 game, but you can either pay, you know, $100 to play it like a week early, or the game is a $70 beta, which, and I think on Steam, if the game's in early access, you effectively can't refund. If I'm not mistaken, see, that's the shit Total War Warhammer 3 has gotten into. Because they demand $70, but they said it's in early access. They should make this should be a rule on Steam. If it is early access, it cannot go anywhere over $50, or hell, I'd even say 40. Because again, what does early access mean? Well, it means they'll be adding things periodically down the road. So there's absolutely no reason why a game should be a full $70 if the game itself doesn't have that value in it. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But that's one thing. Thing number two, or I guess we're on thing number four, it's Ubisoft, right? Ubisoft made Black Flag, which was a damn good game. Like, everyone universally loved Black Flag, and all anyone ever asked for was just give us something like Black Flag. That's all. And it's not like they can't do that, right? They have the game. The game exists. But Skull and Bones end up being just trash. Like, there is no, like, boarding. You play, like, a boarding mini game. And above that, like, obviously they have the gear score. They have crafting. You know the things that are thrown in most AAA games nowadays. They have the loot box for the serotonin. And again, this is mobile game tactics, right? It's sad that they have to use mobile game tactics just to keep you interested. Like, there's nothing in this game that's new. There's nothing in this game that you haven't seen before, right? And it's less than Black Flag. And it's made by Ubisoft. So it begs the question, 10 years for this? I don't believe that for a fact. I think this is sort of something they whipped out probably 3 years ago. I mean, what does working on it 10 years mean? I mean, they could have been brainstorming the idea for 7, probably had put together, cheaply thrown together assets on and off for like 6 or 7 of those years. And only for the last 3 years have they actually fully started working on that game. So I don't, again, this just flat out does not look like a 10-year product to me. Right? They were working on this for 10 years, and that says more about the company and where its mind and priorities are at. Which, I mean, very few people have any faith for most Western AAA companies, so I wouldn't be surprised. But again, all anyone asked for was something like Black Flag, and what they came out with for $70, that's still on early access, is worse, like substantially worse than Black Flag. This prompts a question posed by Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot about why they were doing that instead of broadening the player base as a free-to-play game. His response: "You will see Skull and Bones is a fully fledged game," he said. "It's a very big game. We'll feel that people will see how vast and complete the game is. It's a really full quadruple A game that will deliver in the long run." Quadruple, again, this is just PR speak, like someone speaking out their ass because they have to. I doubt Skull and Bones will be any good 5, 6, 7 years from now. Like, on launch, you demand $70, and it's a fifth of what Black Flag was. Even though, well, I think maybe, yeah, I think the ship combat was a good part of Black Flag. Right, but it's still Assassin's Creed. The ship thing was more an additive mechanic, right? Because I had it in Assassin's Creed 3, but it was just sort of there. But people were like, "Oh, hey, this is good," and they're like, "Oh, well, let's let's make a whole game revolved around it," and that was a good call. Now, I know people were wanting an Assassin's Creed in Japan. They've been asking for that since Assassin's Creed 3. And Ubisoft did everything in its power not to give the players what they wanted. Like, they literally put an Assassin's Creed in every single region. And you can tell the more and more that they smacked out and more regions that they covered, the less and less the games have become. Mirage just looks like a PS2 game, like with its creative direction. It looks trash. And I still don't even really know the direction they were trying to go in Mirage. Because, see, that's the thing. What's the direction? Like, what's the goal? Up until 3, and I'd see if it say even Black Flag, there was a goal. As good as the game was, I mean, it was kind of all over the place, but again, concessions. But past that, there's really not a point to Assassin's Creed except to put out an Assassin's Creed. Personally, I think they should quit with the whole Abstergo bullshit. And I know people like Valhalla, but I really wish they would just stick with, like, I get it, they need the Abstergo plot line to sort of like to have sort of like this like core to branch out from, and that's fine. But I just think it's boring. They should get rid of it. They should get it out the game because it takes you out what you want to see and into boring mundanity. I am trying to understand how you say something is vast and complete game, and in the next sentence say that it will deliver in the long run. See, that's what I'm failing. Like, he contradicts himself in that very statement. Like, it's a complete game, but we'll add the rest of it later. Like, odd sentence structuring. This is good old live service philosophy, where the game will deliver over the course of its lifetime, not necessarily at launch. And it's another problem with charging $70 up front when people want a complete game for that price, not the promise that it will deliver over time, after loads of microtransaction-based future content launches. Live service launches are hard enough as it is, but there are very few and that are successful on top of launching at a full AAA or quadruple A price to start with. Yeah, that makes zero sense to me. Like, they could have made the game like what's the new price? Like, I think $39.99. That's what Rogue City was at. That's what Power World started at. That's what Helldivers started at. And I think people wouldn't be as mad. Because you need to understand, like, in this economy, price absolutely matters. Like, no one cares about the pretty words you say, right? I mean, words are fine, but you're not the only big kid on the block. Like, there are other games that are coming out. And honestly, this year and near the end of last year, there's been a couple of decent games that came out. So I don't understand this odd idea, unless you're trying to rake up money from the normies. Like, I know a couple of normies that have gaslit themselves into liking the game and, you know, whatever, but to speak out your ass like this, to say so much, but to mean so little, boggles my fucking mind. It's also hard to imagine a live service game as a quadruple A experience. Yeah, that just doesn't make any sense. You're a quadruple A game, but you're also a live service. I mean, huh? I mean, you can be a quadruple a triple A company that puts out a live service game. But what does a triple A game even look like? Because usually that's a classification we use for the company. The first thing that comes to mind is like Mass Effect. So, like, the culmination of the previous titles. Now, again, was Mass Effect 3 a good game? Again, concessions and all. People enjoyed the game as they played it. It was just the end. Man, what else would be a quadruple A game? Skyrim? I mean, yeah. Skyrim was pretty hype. The problem with Bethesda is they're known for releasing Skyrim, then re-releasing Skyrim, then re-releasing Skyrim, then re-releasing Skyrim at $70 all the way through. Then they released Starfield, which I liked, but I 100% understand the criticisms, and it's 100% uh, deserve the criticisms. But that's just, again, I think it's just him. It's just PR speak. Whatever that's supposed to mean, given its core nature, I suppose the idea is that they're just spent so long on it and invested so much that they view it that way. And it's probably another reason it's $70 to try to get some of that development cost back, even if it doesn't work in the long term. And honestly, I just don't really know how a pirate ship combat game, no matter how many, no matter how many as it has, no matter how many as it has, A's? Oh, A's. How many A's? That's such an odd sentence structure. No matter how many A's it has, it's going to perform in a long term against so much market competition. Exactly. They believe they're the big guy on the block for some reason. Like, do they not know they're in competition with other companies? Is there even competition between companies nowadays? Because you see every single company, like, put out a shitty product. Like, every single, like, gaming company, like BioWare, Quicksilver, EA, everyone universally hated, Ubisoft, Activision, Rocksteady. So many of these companies are just putting out ass products. Like, if a company was to just, if a AAA company would just put out a good product, they would be absolutely successful in this market. Because, again, the fact of the matter is, it's just the entertainment company is unsustainable. Like, we're reaching that point where even the normies are like, yeah, I probably won't buy from this company, or probably won't buy this product, especially in this economy. I'ma just buy a gotcha game, see titties, and be happy. And I mean, that's just what people are doing. Like, again, the new Wolverine game just flat out does not look appealing to me. Like, right? And personally, I like the X-Men more than DC and Marvel. Even though Marvel owns the X-Men, I like them more than the Avengers because it just sort of encaps. Well, I mean, I like the boys, but I didn't much care for how they did the boys in the comics. But I like X-Men a lot. And the Fantastic Four wasn't that bad either. But you have Suicide Squad coming out, pretty much shitting on that entire idea, shitting on that entire IP. And I have no love for the X Men. I mean, I have no hope for the new X Men game. I think it's just going to be another game, another IP that they just shit on and just move on. So, yeah, that's just the way I think it's gonna be. They're gonna jump from IP to IP, probably rope in people based off curiosity and completely shit on them. And it's sad that that's the way it's gonna have to be nowadays. But you know, what are we gonna do except not give them our money or move to different games? Who knows? But anyway, that's all I gotta say. Peace.